how depression affects one's diagnosed with it and their loved ones. Today we're going to go over the facts, the types, the statistics, how families can deal with it, and what you can do. Depression is a life-altering disease for both the one who suffers with it and their loved ones. According to the Mayo Clinic, someone with depression could feel ashamed and not know what to do. They can also think that they can cure themselves or overcome the disease. And while that may be with God's help, some people need more help than that. When you have depression, it can mimic other diseases. Like one of the side effects is exhaustion. So, your doctor could just think it's fatigue when it could just be depression. It's going to take the right diagnosis and the right help in order to get that correctly diagnosed. Dr. Mueller with York University says it's a state of mind and it's a way of being. It's how you live. You live in that world when you are depressed or when you're anxious. And it's a vicious circle, not just for the person affected by it, but for their loved ones too, because they're in that world as well. They're just dealing with it differently. Now, there's no cure for depression right now, just the right medication. Sometimes it can be also done with diet. It just depends who your doctor is and what's going on with that person personally. There's different types of depression. Generally, when somebody is diagnosed with depression, they are going to be diagnosed with anxiety as well. Not every case, but 3 out of 4 are diagnosed with anxiety. Some of the anxiety disorders that there are is panic anxiety, social anxiety, you don't like to be in a circle of friends, specific phobias, OCD, PTSD, those are all types of anxiety or depression types that people deal with, people and their families. There are some alarming statistics that go with depression as well. Not just people who think you can just get over it. When Dr. Mueller from York University, when he did a survey, 54% of the people thought it was a weakness with that individual, and that was the problem, that they were just weak and they just couldn't handle life. And that is not necessarily true. I am a survivor of depression. However, years ago when I was diagnosed with it, my husband didn't understand it. We would fight. He hated me being on medicine. People would say, well, it's a spiritual issue, or you need to get right with God, but that's not necessarily the truth. The truth is that it's a real disease and it affects people differently. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, 40 million people in the United States over the age of 18 have been diagnosed with depression or anxiety. And in the course of a year, that could cost the United States over $42 billion. Now, the National Institute of Mental Health says 18% of the population is diagnosed with depression, with 23% being diagnosed with severe depression. They also go on to state that 60% of those diagnosed are women and 40% are men. And of that 100%, only 36% of those people are actually treated. Now, while a loved one that has depression should be treated, it also affects the families. It can be a trying, challenging experience. You can feel helpless. Like I said earlier, it can be you don't know what to do. But according to the Mayo Clinic, it says the most important thing you can do is listen to somebody. Just be there for them. It's not their fault, and you can't fix it, but you can be there for them. It's important that you encourage them to seek treatment, that their spiritual needs are met. Again, it may not be a spiritual issue, but they need to have some type of spiritual guidance and perhaps even join a support group at their church. Dr. Mueller said it's also important that you as a loved one get somebody who will just sit there and listen to you. Now, both my daughter and I have been diagnosed, and according to Dr. Mueller, the one thing that you can do as well is to love. And I can actually tell you from experience that is very essential. Loving and listening to somebody with depression and anxiety is very important. A good example of depression and anxiety was shared with me yesterday. They saw this on Tumblr, and it says depression is like peeling a potato with another potato. It's not fun, it doesn't work, and all you do is cry. Eventually, the floor is consumed with the pile of constantly still not peeled potatoes, and you're in the middle of it. Once you try to get up, you trip or fall over those unpeeled potatoes. It's just a never-ending circle for those that are not diagnosed and cured. Now, today we've gone over the types, statistics, and what someone can do when they have a suffer of depression. I hope it's been enlightening and helpful to you. Good night. God bless.